Meanwhile, Hamas says it has submitted a positive response to mediators about a Gaza ceasefire proposal. But the BBC has been told that it has requested some key changes. These include a guarantee from the US that Israel's bombardment will not resume if the ceasefire ends without a permanent agreement. There was no immediate response from Israel and the US, but they have previously been reluctant to accept similar demands. We can speak to the BBC's Wira Davies, who's in Jerusalem for us. And Wira, what's the latest on these ceasefire negotiations?
But all of this comes against a backdrop of increasing violence in Gaza, not just the incident you mentioned, but also 130 Palestinian deaths yesterday and at least 70 more deaths, according to the health ministry in Gaza, as Israel's military bombardment continues. Hamas has told negotiators that it is generally positive about the ceasefire proposals and willing to start negotiations round the table indirectly with Israel, with Qatari and Egyptian mediators. However, Hamas has said it wants to see some modifications or changes to the plans as they've been presented. The key thing will be whether or not, after the ceasefire ends, whether or not there can be guarantees about a permanent peace, a permanent truce. Also, Hamas wants Israeli troops to withdraw from parts of Gaza, and they want a resumption of the UN-backed humanitarian aid system. So quite a lot there for the Israelis to take on board. We haven't had an official response from the Israelis yet because it's still the Jewish Sabbath in Israel. But I think as the day progresses, certainly those on the right wing of Israeli politics might express their rejection of Hamas's demands. Indeed, many ministers in the government, or at least two ministers in the government, don't want any ceasefire at all. They want all aid to be stopped, and they want an intensification of Israeli military activity in Gaza.
You mentioned those attacks and killings happening in Gaza. What more can you tell us?
Well, look, Israel over the last week has been increasingly intensifying its airstrikes across the Gaza Strip. Even so-called safe areas like Al-Mawasi is a zone where the Israelis have told people to go to get away from the airstrikes. That area, Al-Mawasi, has been hit repeatedly, and in the last 24 hours, one prominent Gazan doctor and his family were reportedly killed in Al-Mawasi overnight. So a lot of people still being killed, a lot of injuries being taken to hospitals, and the situation is worsening even as we start to talk about a possible ceasefire.
And we mentioned a little earlier that attack on two members of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. What do we know about what happened there?
Yeah, this is as you said, the American-backed GHF, which has been widely criticised. Some people have said that its members have been firing on and attacking some Palestinian civilians at and around the aid centres. But they also say that they're coming under attack. And to that point, they say that this morning, two of their American aid workers were lightly injured when a grenade was thrown at one of their 4 distribution centres. The injuries are said to be light, but it just shows the danger that attracts these distribution centres, and is another reason why many in Gaza, certainly in the UN and the sister agencies, say we need to change the method of distributing aid. They're saying let the UN distribute aid to 400 centres around Gaza rather than rely on these controversial GHF operations.
Wira, thank you. That's our correspondent, Wira Davies, in Jerusalem there.